this beautiful sacred garden. Isko band karna hai. We'll start as always with a question that's come in advance, and then any question that anyone here has. We'll be happy to take those. Do you have any tips for how I can get a better night's sleep? It's so beautiful because with the questions that come in satsang, I always say there's no such thing as a wrong question. Because sometimes people feel shy, they worry, maybe my question's silly, maybe it's stupid, maybe it's wrong. And I always emphasize there's no such thing as a wrong question, as long as it's something that is deeply important to you in your life. That satsang's not a time about philosophical debates. It's not a time for being in our heads and intellectual questions of what's the semantic difference between this word and that word. But it's a time of diving deep into truth so that we can live free from suffering, free from ignorance. And yet, occasionally, there are questions that arise that aren't exactly on that normal level that we tend to talk on, but nonetheless actually are really important because we are spiritual beings having a human experience in human bodies, and those bodies are the mediums that we use for our spiritual experience. If I couldn't sit and close my eyes and meditate, I wouldn't have the experiences that I have in meditation. If my back were killing me in such a way that whether I sat on the ground, on a chair, on a couch, that sitting in any way caused me so much pain, well, it would be really hard to ignore that pain or to be free of that pain enough that I was able to have the types of spiritual experiences that I have sitting in meditation. In the same way, when our physical body is sick, many of us have discovered that it's a lot easier to drag a healthy body out of bed early in the morning to meditate than it is to drag a sick body out of bed early in the morning to meditate. That there's a pull of the sick body that says, and it's human, it's part of the human experience. No, it doesn't want to cook food, and no, it doesn't want to get up and meditate. It just wants to lie in bed. And so this is where all of the spiritual traditions emphasize care for the body in different ways. And in our Sanatan Dharma, we've got a whole emphasis from a practice of yoga, practice of pranayama, science of Ayurveda. It's all about keeping the physical body, the energetic body as it flows through the physical body, healthy, so that we have the very best chance to be able to use this body as a medium for awakening. In the same way, if we're not sleeping, so this was all a build-up to the answer to the question of, do you have any tips on how I can get a better night's sleep? Well, when you wake up from not having a good night's sleep, it's not simply a matter of feeling a little groggy or a little cranky. There's actually a lot of science. I've got a science background, which probably many of you know, but some may not know. And I love science. And I love the way that our brains and the science of the world, the physics, the biology, how all of that overlaps with spiritual teachings. So what we know now scientifically is that not sleeping is literally the equivalent of being drunk. Now, I forget the exact numbers and the exact glasses of alcohol, but there's lots of statistics around if you get less than a certain number of hours of sleep, or if you go more than a certain number of days, getting fewer than a certain number of hours of sleep, your cognitive abilities are literally just as bad as if you were drunk. The research came to play around things like truck drivers who are on the road for many days at a time and cause all kinds of accidents. And so the research was done proving that these exhausted truck drivers are actually just as dangerous to themselves and others as drunk drivers. But I take that research in a different way as well, which is, if we're going to follow a path of Jnana Yoga, a path of wisdom, if we are going to be introspecting, who am I? If we're looking for wisdom rather than ignorance, and we are so tired that we are essentially chemically drunk, it's a lot harder to grasp wisdom. It's also a lot harder to do any of the practices. If you haven't slept well and you go to sit for meditation, what happens? Oh yeah, you fall asleep. If you fall asleep, people will ask me sometimes, what do I do about the fact that I fall asleep in meditation? And the answer is always, get a better night's sleep the night before. You're falling asleep in meditation because your body's exhausted. So if we're not able to sleep, we're not going to be able to meditate well. We're not going to be able to do yoga well. The body just won't have the strength and the vitality that it needs. And cognitively we're drunk, which makes our yearning for wisdom a much more challenging experience. So sleep is important, and tips to getting a better night's sleep. The main thing that keeps us from sleeping when our bodies are tired is the mind. We're stressed. We lie in bed and we're worried about what we have to do. We're making to-do lists. We're worried about what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. We're playing out all kinds of scenarios in our mind. Or we are worried about that which has already happened. We're replaying conversations we had, thinking, oh my God, why did you say that? That was so stupid. What are those people going to think about you? Or, oh my God, how did you do that? Why did you do that? That was such a mistake. You're making such a mess of your life. These are the types of things that keep tired bodies awake at night. And so the best solution to that is a practice of meditation before you sleep. You know, we know that staring at your device, whether it's a handheld device, whether it's a TV or a computer, the literal blue light that it emits shuts off the brain's signals for sleep. That the blue light signals wake up. So we're getting it actually from the light of our devices. And of course, we're getting it from the stimulation of our devices, because we're clicking here, watch now, watch now, watch now. And so our brains are getting overstimulated. We're angry, we're upset, we're triggered. I mean, that's what drives the algorithms of social media. We know that now. So get off your device. Get off your device at least an hour before you sleep. Spend that time meditating, reading. Read a book. You know those things with paper and they're bound, got covers. The statistics around how many people read books these days is heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Again, I can't remember the exact statistics, but it's something like 70% of people have not read a book this year. Yeah, I mean, just heartbreaking statistics. Read a book. Read a book that's inspiring. Read a book that brings you joy. Read a book that gives you a deep dive into another culture, another time. It doesn't have to be hardcore spiritual teachings. It could be a novel. Takes you into some other beautiful experience, awareness, time, whatever it may be. But something that is bringing you into that space of where you want to be before you go to sleep. Don't read murder mysteries. Don't read spy novels. Read things that are putting you into the mindset of where you want your mind to be. That's the most powerful thing. And then, of course, there's all the very simple things that we know, but they bear repeating, just in terms of, for example, don't have a heavy meal late at night. It's awful for your digestion. Eat early. Lay off the caffeine. I mean, all the same stuff that Google could tell you. But it's worth remembering, because when things seem so simple, we tend to ignore them. We tend to go out and buy $100 contraptions that are going to, put our brains into a certain wave state. We go out and we buy $1,000 mattresses that are going to, make us sleep better. I remember a few years ago, I was driving through Haridwar, which is, most of you know, a city quite near here. But I was driving from a very, very rural jungle area behind the city of Haridwar. And as I was driving through there was a man. It was just village India. You would have no idea that you were 5-7 kilometers from a city as big as Haridwar. And there was a man lying in front of his shop. He had a little shop. And in front of the shop, he had a little bed. And this must have been, noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 2. And the guy is lying on a bed on basically the edge of the road. And he's got his shop and then a little space in front of the shop and then the road. And he's essentially lying on the edge of the road, fast asleep. People are walking by, there's dogs, there's cars. He's fast asleep. 10 minutes later, we enter into the industrial area of Haridwar called Sidkul. And it could be the industrial area anywhere in the world. I mean, big buildings, it looks just like an industrial area, and it's factories, and it's offices and buildings, and people rushing across the street in their, suits and ties and office gear and briefcases and rushing. And I had this moment of realizing, what's actually development? Right? We consider this area developed, and the early area undeveloped, or euphemistically developing. And yet, what kind of development have we created where everybody's rushing around and no one can sleep? This guy, undeveloped, has no trouble sleeping at all. He doesn't need a $1,000 mattress. He doesn't need a few $100 pair of headphones that change the brain waves he's having. He just lies down and he sleeps. And it really made me realize how very simple that which most of us suffer from is, how very simple the solutions are. But the solutions that we're being given are solutions that are so complex because they buy into the problem, right? Now, in order to sleep, I can't sleep because I've got these endless desires that are never fulfilled. And so I'm stressed because my desires aren't being fulfilled. But now, what am I being told in order to sleep? The answer is $1,000 mattress, $300 pair of, special headphones, this and that. Well, it just feeds into the whole problem. Now I can't sleep because I don't have the right mattress. Now I can't sleep because I'm too poor to buy the headphones. If we just went back to a bit of simplicity, end your day as close to when the sun goes down as you can. Rely on artificial light as infrequently and minimally as possible. Meditate. Read. Sleep early. The last great tip that goes along with this is get up early. What most of us do is when we can't go to sleep, let's say we decide, okay, I'm going to go to sleep early. 9:30, I'm in my bed. But of course, I'm wired. I've been on my phone until 30 seconds ago. My brain is wired. It's hours before I'm used to going to sleep. So I lie in bed, can't sleep. And so I take my alarm, which originally I had set for 5 in the morning, because I'm going to get up early and meditate. But now when 9:30 becomes 10:30, becomes 11:30, becomes midnight, I realize, well, I need more than 5 hours of sleep, and so I turn off my alarm. Instead, leave the alarm set. Even if you end up with not enough sleep that night, get up anyway. Start your practice anyway. Because then that night, I guarantee you, at 9:30, you're going to be tired. But if you turn off the alarm every night because you're not able to fall asleep, and then you sleep until 8 in the morning, well, obviously you're not going to be able to go to sleep at 9:30 at night. So set an alarm for whatever time you want to get up in the morning, and then get up, regardless of when you went to sleep. And slowly, what you will find is your whole body realigns with the sun. And it's such a beautiful and healthy way to live. Then slowly, slowly, you don't even need the alarm. Because your body is just attuned with the sun. Questions? I'll take another one that's come in advance until anyone here has one. Those of you sitting kind of behind me, you're going to have to say something, not just raise your hand if you've got a question. I am totally confused about what to do with my life. How do we find the true purpose of life? The dilemma for most of us is an overemphasis on the what, and not nearly enough emphasis on the how and the who. For just a moment, stop worrying about the what are you going to do. Shift your question. Who am I? When I don't know who I am, then I have no way of knowing what to do. Then I'm literally simply taking cues from what society, the culture, social media, influencers I follow, my friends, my family, what they say. In order to really know what to do, I have to know who I am. So begin with a question of who. Tell yourself, I'm not going to worry about the what for right now. I'm just going to worry about who. And in your meditation, in your contemplation, as you're walking, as you're driving, as you're cooking, as you're eating, as you're doing dishes, as you're doing whatever you do, just keep asking yourself, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? There's a beautiful practice of meditation called neti neti, which is not this, not that. I am not the clothes I wear. I'm not the skin beneath the clothes. I'm not the blood beneath the skin. I'm not the organs. You go through all of what you are not until there's really nothing left to name. I'm not my thoughts, clearly, because our thoughts are just chemical and electrical patterns of behavior in our brain. We can artificially induce thoughts, give people drugs, stimulate their brain in a certain way. They're going to think in a certain way. So if my thoughts are chemical and electrical, well, I'm not chemistry or electricity. They're not who I am. And slowly, 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 as you realize what you are not, that space of who you are, suddenly it just becomes apparent. So focus on who. Then focus on how. So whatever you are doing, you are cooking, you are cleaning, you are walking, you are waiting tables, you are filing, you are stuffing envelopes, you are designing a website, you are sweeping the floor. You are doing whatever you may be doing. How are you doing it? Are you doing it mindlessly? Is your mind saying, oh my God, I can't believe this is so stupid. I got stuck doing this. When I find my real purpose, then I won't be stuck doing these stupid things. Then someone else will do those things. Because clearly it's someone else's purpose to sweep the floor. Or, as you're doing those, are you doing them in the spirit of mindfulness, of awareness? Are you able to be fully aware of what it feels like to actually have warm, soapy water on your hands as you're doing the dishes? Are you able to feel what it feels like as your foot touches the ground when you walk? Are you able to be aware of the muscles in your arms as they rise up to put a letter into an envelope? Are you able to be so aware of the micro flow of energy through you that what you're doing starts to become irrelevant because you are just so anchored in that awareness that one minute you're doing this, another moment you're doing something else, a third moment you're doing a third thing. But the what becomes irrelevant because the awareness is constant. And you're anchored not in, oh, this is boring. Oh, now this is fun. But you're anchored in simple awareness. Not judgment, but just awareness. So focus on who, then how. And when you've done both of those for a few months, I'm not talking years, I'm not talking lifetimes, just give yourself a few months of stopping to worry about what. Focus on who and how. And what I am very sure of is that in the stillness, in the spaciousness, in the openness, in the availability of you to the universe, that suddenly the what will make itself known. That suddenly what your Dharma is in this moment. And of course, we don't only have one Dharma in our lifetime. It's not a matter of finding that one thing, like finding that one soulmate. We have many different Dharmas, even at one time. You have a Dharma as a child to your parents. You have a Dharma as a parent to your children. You have a Dharma to do whatever your work is, regardless of whether you love it or hate it, but to do it sincerely. We have a Dharma to our society, our community, to Mother Earth. And then, of course, we've got our individual Dharmas of the moment. And they're not rocket science. They haven't been sent to us in some kind of uncrackable code. It's just that we're not quiet and still and open enough to hear them. So instead of driving yourself crazy with the what, focus on the who and the how. And let the rest just make itself known. Any other questions? Yes.
What is the Dharma for the society we should be doing?
What is our Dharma for society that we should be doing? We should be vehicles instruments of bringing betterment to our societies. Now, we're going to do that in different ways. A doctor's Dharma, as he or she serves the society, is going to be to bring health. Maybe not only to those who afford their private practice dues, but also to the poor, to the needy. A teacher's Dharma, well, they're going to fulfill that Dharma through teaching. Each of us has a Dharma that's individual, but to recognize that we are interconnected, interlinked with everyone. We're not separate. And we therefore have a duty to give back to that society. And whether it's picking up trash, right? Every Saturday morning, gather your friends and family, pick up trash from the banks of your local water body. Is it winter time? Go out and buy a bunch of blankets, get your friends together. Say, okay, no Diwali presents this year. No Christmas presents this year. We're going to use all the money we would have used on Diwali presents, Christmas presents, Hanukkah presents. And we're going to use them to buy blankets for the homeless. And then we're going to celebrate our Diwali or Christmas or Hanukkah by going out and distributing them. Or we're going to make food. Or we're going to find an organization that's doing beautiful work. And we're going to offer ourselves to them in however they would like to use us. Maybe they want us to sweep their floor. Maybe they want us to design their website. Maybe they want us to stuff envelopes. But we're going to offer ourselves selflessly, humbly, in service of those who are working for the betterment of society. And lastly, but perhaps most importantly, we're going to dissolve any walls between us and them. Whatever way we may see others, that's them. Whether it's a different race, a different religion, a different color, a different socioeconomic status, a different sexual orientation, whatever it may be. Every division that we create where we say, we are us, that's them. They are like that, and we are like this. That is the root of suffering in our own hearts, in our societies, in our communities. It's the root of discrimination. It's the root of inequality. It's the root of human rights abuses. And so as members of a society, a community, and I don't just mean your gated community of 25 houses. I mean our global community, our earth community. We must dissolve those walls. We must realize there is no them. It's all us. And that's how we serve. Let us conclude with just a few minutes of silent meditation together. We're going to start concluding satsang with just some few minutes of some silent meditation. Just find a position that's comfortable for you. We won't be here for very long. And just allow the awareness to pull inward. draw that awareness to the inner world. Now bring the awareness to your breath. Don't try to change the breath. Just allow the awareness to merge into it as it flows in and flows out, deeply and slowly, like the waves of the ocean. With the awareness merged into the breath, allow the power, the energy of the mind's eye to focus on our third eye center, that Agya chakra, just between your eyebrows. That third eye where we place our tilak. Allow the energy of the mind's eye to focus on to that third eye energetic center. Still keeping the awareness merged in the breath. You can add a gentle mantra if you find that the mind is wandering. And that mantra is so hum. On the inhalations, just allow yourself silently within to chant so. And on the exhalations, allow yourself to chant hum. It means I am that. I am one with the universe. I am that. So hum. Slowly bring the palms together at chest level and gently rub the palms of your hands against each other. Place the palms of your hands over your closed eyes. Slowly open the eyes into the palms of the hands and lower the hands. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world. And so much love to all of you.